So were you guys waiting on this movie as hard as I was? As a 90s kid and this not being a full-blown remake, I was definitely waiting for Hocus Pocus 2. Guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss Hocus Pocus 2. Now this movie is available on Disney Plus and it stars Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy. Now before I get into all things nostalgia, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that and then we're going to come back and discuss. I am so happy that this movie came out. I can't remember a time in the past decade that me now, even as an adult, has not thrown on Hocus Pocus in October. It's practically tradition. Now we have a part 2. I'm gonna throw that on as well.
Go back.
Guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me. Let's get into this movie. Now to start off, I would love to discuss some of the things that I loved about this movie. The Sanderson sisters were forever and always on point. Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Kathy Najimy were acting as if no time had passed at all. They looked and sound so amazing here. The chemistry, their mannerisms, the comedic timing, the reactions, how they play off of each other, the songs, the singing, the walk, it is very much so all here. It instantly brought back feelings of nostalgia, watching Hocus Pocus as a kid at the spookiest time of the year, trick-or-treating. It just made me feel all warm and good inside and instantly made me love the movie. I also really liked the beginning of the movie. The Hocus Pocus prequel that I never knew I needed, we could have absolutely stayed there for the entirety of the film. Meeting little Sarah, little Winnie, little Kathy, being all the way back in Salem, meeting them as teenagers. I really enjoyed the backstory for not only tying in our younger 16-year-old Winnie, who was freaking amazing. The young actress was giving all the Bette Midler Winnie that I would ever want. Like, I thought it was awesome. I really wanted it to continue. I was like, can we stay here for a little longer? I love the details of tying in small things like Billy Butcher, them already as a village, even then referring to Winnie as ugly. Did you hear what he called me? He called me ugly. Like, yes, I loved it. Tying in Winnie already being kind of that leader, that protector of her sister because their parents had passed away, them already being banished and cast out, like it wasn't their initial to be these witches. They just, so happened to become this, even though Winnie had already had these powers. If she was maybe perceived a little better, she maybe could have been a good witch. Tying that who eventually gives Winnie the book was absolutely great writing, in my opinion. I also really love the visuals in this movie, the directing, the cinematography, the writer. The fact that they kept the same writer from the first initial Hocus Pocus definitely benefit this film a lot. You can see a lot of callbacks, a lot of scenes, and it's really detailed, really small things that you wouldn't notice unless you absolutely, watch the franchise to no end. But they were very much noticed on my part, like the little small effects that we get here. With this movie being way from 1993, they could have went here and got all CGI and all extra, but the effects are still very practical. The little zip zap booms, little smoke, that's all we ever needed. I'm really glad that they didn't push this franchise so far away from what we already know. I also really appreciated the return of Doug Jones to this film. I think his character, Billy Butcherson, is one of the more understated things that we love about Hocus Pocus outside of the Sanderson sisters. Not only did he return, but he is way more active in this movie. He's actually speaking. And this also feels like a really full circle moment for his career. This was probably the first time that I got to see him as an actor. Not only act, but put on the whole prosthetic. So to see him go from this to movies like Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, The Shape of Water, to come back here to where it all started was pretty awesome. I also appreciated other things like our new additions here. We have Sam Richardson being that gullible yet lovable magic shop owner who reveres the Sanderson sisters. Even though his backstory in connection with the movie was a little wonky, I did like what he had to do in the film. I love the way that he was written. As an actor, he just has this whimsical, childlike, comedic feel about himself, so he fit in perfectly. And lastly, I also liked how the very beginning of the movie ties in with the end, having our 16-year-old Winnie run into the witch who doesn't have sisters, who doesn't have a coven, and also tells her not to use the spell, and it ties into her, not appreciating her sisters as much in the end, that quest for power, not ever feeling like there was anything more important than, that revenge, taking over Salem. But when this spell and all of this almighty power jeopardizes her sister and her sisterhood, she has, a whole change in the end. I really thought that was great. But that pretty much ends what I loved about the film. Let's get into what I didn't love so much. Now, every single character outside of the Sanderson sisters is absolutely interchangeable and forgettable. I did not care or really remember anything about anybody here, especially our lead, Whitney Peck's Becca, that we were supposed to be following. Absolutely nothing stood out to me about anybody here. I didn't care about their friendship. I didn't care about how broken their friendship was, their rift, boyfriends, not anything. Everyone felt so plain, so bland. I love the Sanderson sisters, but maybe people forgot writing that we didn't only come and gravitate to the film for the Sanderson sisters. It was also the surrounding characters. We had Max, his sister Danny, Allison. Even Max's parents had more personality. Every single person in the movie seemed to have some type of trait that made them stick out, that made them memorable. Everybody was really fleshed out, from the whole cast to people who had smaller roles like the bus driver or the guy on stage singing "I Put a Spell on You." Those things mattered, especially the inclusion of Zachary Binks. And I'm going to say Zachary because I didn't learn until I was an adult. Like, all this time I've been calling this cat Zachary Binks, and it's actually Zachary. Like, what? That don't even make sense. When I tell you I was sitting waiting for the moment that the black cat was gonna talk, like, why have that addition there just, for, I guess, just for something familiar if he wasn't gonna actually speak? Like, I was like, oh, so he was just there this entire time. The addition of Zachary Binks and, helping Max and Danny with their quest, teaching the ins and outs of the books, and just that connection that he had, with the sister in the past, it fleshed out that first movie so much. That strong presence of the journey and really building with these characters through the cat, through the chemistry with the brother and sister, that good old survival until the sun came up, that was absolutely not here whatsoever. Without those strong connections here, like even the neighborhood bullies having so much personality, everything here fell really, really flat. Not that the acting helped out all that much. Our Becca, getting her powers, are embracing who she is, finding out that she is a witch. It was a Tuesday, like there was no connection there. I think the movie would have really benefited from making some of those connections, maybe bringing some of those old cast members back as parents. Maybe even if it was just Allison. I always felt like Allison from the first movie had more of a connection. She used to know all of the ins and outs of the Salem witch trials. She felt really well versed in that. And you also have Winnie in the first film calling her, a clever little white witch. Maybe, she could have been her mom. I don't know, something. I'm trying to piece it together because it was not present in this movie. Now, even though this movie is not a remake, it does, have us going down the same path. And I do really wish that they switched it up quite a bit. When we have the girls, our witches here, outsmarting the Salem sisters with modern technology like they did in the first film, I was like, well, damn, it is 2022. It's not 1993. We could have done some really, really elaborate things here, but it feels like they kept it really minimal and they didn't change a whole lot. And what they did to decide to, incorporate things like, Alexa speaking back. But when we have small things like, automatic doors, them going into Walgreens, looking at lotions and potions, like the Snapchat filter scene was, really, really adorable. I did like that. Seeing a television for the first time, seeing, a black river a road for the first time. Those things were, cute in 93, but when you bring them here into present day and we've already, seen these things before, it becomes really formulaic, and I felt like it dragged the movie down a little bit and it got a little boring. The whole false, sunlight from the headlight beams, we've already been there. And the most what moment was the whole situation with the salt circle. We have already very much so established the salt circle in the first film, Winnie knowing exactly what that is, how it's used. It's really used often here, and it just, floors the Sanderson sisters like, oh my God, well, what is this contraption? Like, no, we already know what this is from the first movie. So that was really a weird choice to me to try to bring that back here and present it as not only a new idea to us as an audience, but a new idea to the Sanderson sisters. I really thought the movie would have benefited, and I thought it was for a second going to go in a totally opposite direction with the old priest who banished him way back in Salem, the lineage, the bloodline, and maybe, pursue something there. But we absolutely don't do anything with the father character except for make him a fumbling throwaway father character who is irate about a party and is on a mission to get a candy apple. I thought it was very much so a missed opportunity. And then we decide to make our movie extremely predictable by having our three girls kind of have different traits that match with the Sanderson sisters. They have on the same colors as each Sanderson sister that they look alike. So we are kind of waiting for the change to happen, and we know where these girls are going. And the last few things are really nitpicky things as far as I am concerned, but it's me. The Sanderson sisters entrance, when we first see them appear on screen, like in the 30-minute mark of the film, I felt like it should have been grander. It should have been bigger. Like, we have been waiting for these characters to return for some time. Since we heard any talk about the Hocus Pocus franchise coming back at all, I thought it should have been a bit grander. And the chase within the movie, it's really different, and it kind of drags a little bit because the sisters trying to, get the children before the sunlight came up, sucks the lives out. Like, it was so dire need, and there was such an intensity brought because of that. I did not feel that here because that was kind of left by the wayside, and we have Winnie on an entirely different quest, which was okay, but I just wish that that steam and that urgency was there to not only entrance those kids and suck the lives out of them, but those moments when the sisters are doing that is where I felt like we got the best alone time and the best banter in between all three sisters. There wasn't a whole lot of that to me in the movie. And lastly, just that darker, riskier element that came with Hocus Pocus. This was maybe the first Disney movie that I watched that has some things that make me go wow as a kid and still wow now as an adult. Like the villagers coming in looking for Thackeray Banks and not finding, and the whole spell casting at which the sisters are actually hung and we get to see it. Or just, that banter and the little naughty jokes between the girls and the bus driver, or the situations when they go to see who they think, is the master, the devil. Just that playfulness, like it always seemed to have a little, that darker humor and a risk factor to it. I didn't really get a whole lot of that here. But nonetheless, I really did enjoy the new interpretation here. I love what this film had to offer. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Would I still watch it? Yes. Will I watch it again? Yes. Will I watch the other Hocus Pocus first? Definitely. Well, you guys, that was my review for Hocus Pocus 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about this new movie and what you thought about my review. Did you get some of the takes that I did, or did you just feel like it was absolutely perfection? I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe, share, and like. I see you guys next time. Bye.